I'm Kadene Chambers, and welcome to this week's BTS Live Gems. We are focusing on for this series on loss and grief, and we have been having a deep and meaningful conversation with Dr. Franklin, clinical psychologist. We've been looking at my loss of my mom. We've talked about the loss of his parents, and we've been using that information to really guide and build on the techniques that we have used to offer support to you who might have had a loss, or to you who might be wanting to be more supportive of a friend or loved one who is going through the grieving process resulting from a loss. And so we hope that everything thus far has been instructive. If you haven't watched week 1 yet, we spent about an hour or so going in depth. And that one set the stage for everything that we're talking about in the gems. So if you haven't watched it yet, go on over to week 1, November 7, and click that one and watch it first. Spend the time. You won't regret it. For this week's gem, what we're looking at is something that I've found to be important as I've been going through the grieving process. And the question is there anything that I would like to tell people to do or not to do if somebody is grieving? If you intend to help someone who is has experienced a loss and is going through the grieving process, if you want to help, just help. Just help. Stop asking people to tell you if they need something. I am looking at you dead in the face and say, don't do it. Please don't. Stop saying, if you need anything, let me know. Let me know if you need anything. Let me tell you something. No one who is going through a loss wants to take up their phone or send you a text or an email or come visit you to say, I need this thing or that thing, or I'm short on this thing or that thing. Nobody wants to do that. You're already under so much stress and duress that you're barely thinking straight as it is. If you are one of the persons or the main person like I was, who is responsible for all of the planning and the dealing with all of the things that come with dealing with the death of someone, or let us say you've lost everything in a fire, or your house is flattened because of a hurricane or a tornado. Man, you have so much on your head that you're stressed. All of my documents is gone, this, that, the other. Where am I gonna sleep next week? Oh my goodness, I lost this. And if it's a loved one, listen, you can barely think straight. You can't be thinking to go tell somebody, I'm not sure if I have enough money to cover this thing or that thing, or can I get some help with managing on the day of the funeral, or that sort of thing. It take the pressure off the person who is experiencing the loss. If you are going to help, if you want to help, say what you can do and do what you can do. If you want to give the person money, put it in a check, put it in an envelope. If you ask them their Zelle or Cash App or any of those other things that we use now, for us here in the US, put the money in an envelope and go and drop it off. If you want to buy something, because in some cultures like mine, and I think Dr. Franklin's, I'm not sure how it works in your community, there is the get together that takes place before the funeral, and there is food and this that is expected. So if you're going and you want to bring food to help, reduce the expense on the family or the person who is dealing with, all of that planning, just say, all right, I'm taking this, I'm giving this to you, so that allows the person to better plan. They know what to expect from you, right? If it is that it's not money or a thing that you're giving, you say, okay, I am on the day of the funeral, I am going to be able to do this for you, that for you, that for you. I will coordinate this so that the person doesn't have anything to worry about. Yeah. And the truth is, yes, I know that there are people who are okay with saying to some people, can you do this for me, this particular thing or that particular thing? They might say to one or two persons who they feel very close to, but for the most part, they're not going to be saying to the typical person, whether it is friends, co-workers and family who aren't as closely knit. And even if they're closely knit, they're not comfortable in some instances to say, this is what I need. Sometimes they don't even realize that this is what they need. They can't even process. So I'm saying, if you're going to help, just help. Is there anything that you experienced as you dealt with your loss, or in your practicing of psychology, you've come across with somebody who has experienced a loss that you would say one should do or should not do as it relates to somebody else who is grieving?
Yes. One thing that I noticed, not with myself, but with a few others, is what they shouldn't do is immediately establish a rebound relationship of any kind. Even if sometimes it happens with a loved one, it's like, if one loved one dies, then another loved one you try to have more control over, or so nothing ever will happen to them. You know what I mean? And I see individuals transferring, that type of guilt, that type of shame onto another person immediately, thinking that that's going to help with it, but it usually never does. Reason being is because that same guilt and shame will just go over to the next relationship and what have you. So I think somebody to start their life fully up again too soon, that's something that they shouldn't do. I think another thing that, that you shouldn't necessarily tell somebody or talk to somebody about the grieving process, their grieving process, is to try to omit any type of feeling where you are not validating what they're experiencing. So if they're saying that, man, this is really hard right now, I don't know if I can make it, I say, hey, I can understand that. I could definitely understand that, how you could feel like that. Like I can understand how you can feel like everything's gone. I can understand how you could feel like, why would I continue living? Because that's part of the transition process. So when people are talking this way, don't think it's a downward spiral necessarily. Help them to realize that anybody could, that's the rational way of looking at a loss is, oh my goodness, how can I continue the same way? Because the answer is you can't continue the same way. You got to do something different. So that's another thing. That's how you can help somebody through the grieving process.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. As we wrap up this week's gem, if you bear what we shared in mind, so you can offer better support for somebody else who is experiencing a loss and grieving, or if you yourself are, because one of Dr. Franklin's response is about what the best practice for you. So don't immediately go on the rebound, because you're going to transfer some of those emotions, negative emotions, and you're not allowing yourself to really go through the process of healing so that you are better on the other side. And then that's where you want to get to, so you can experience what? New joy. Mm-hmm. And we explained what new joy is in the full episode. We also did it in Gem 1. So that's me encouraging you to go catch the full episode and go catch Gem 1, where Dr. Franklin explained new joy. And can I tell you, it's amazing. I like it. So, all I'll just say is, don't expect after a loss for life to continue exactly the way it used to. It will be something new after that. And so you can get the deeper explanation over there. Thank you so much, Dr. Franklin, again, for sitting with me. And thank you, my viewers, for joining me. See you next week for our third gem on loss and grief.